Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Imagine this: the best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services. Providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
Canada Day 2025 got me thinking about this wild, beautiful country that we call home. We're still pretty young in the grand scheme of things. We've only been a country since 1867, so we're 158 years old. Can you imagine living in those years in Canada, trying to build a life in the 1800s? Massive snowstorms. Cities hundreds of kilometers apart. There's no highways. They're trying to put the rail system together. But even then, people saw our potential. Farming, forestry, mining, everything was booming. At the same time, Canadian women were standing up and demanding equality. We're a huge country, nearly 10 million square kilometers, the second largest country in the world. Do you know the first? Canada's often near the top of those best places to live lists as well. Clean air, beautiful landscapes, free-ish healthcare. That's where the cost of living, the dream kind of gets a little cracked at that point. Try buying groceries without feeling broke, or filling up your gas tank, although that's getting a little bit better. Or God forbid, renting a place in Vancouver or Toronto without needing 2-3 roommates and a side hustle at the same time. This divide between the ultra-rich and everyone else is getting, clearly it's ridiculous. Still, for all the complaints, it's hard to beat living in Canada. Mountains, oceans, forests, cities full of life, everyone saying sorry when you bump into each other, right? Canada's complicated. It's beautiful. It's broken. And it's home. This week, you'll hear from 9 Canadian guests and some highlights from their visits. In sports, a former CFL warrior, a Sportsnet host that you know or love, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have ish. And if you do, come on, collect yourself. And a voice you've heard booming through rinks who just so happens to wear a crown as well. Maybe that gave it away. In entertainment and lifestyle, you'll hear from a real-life spacewalker, a certified health and wellness coach, and a familiar face from Canada's red carpets. You'll hear from this week's musical guests in just a minute. Frontman known for stadium-sized anthems, straight up a guitar virtuoso, I will say that about him, and a world touring drummer as well. My name is Todd Hancock. Thank you for being there, checking us out on this Canada Day 2025 podcast. You know, it's because of our incredible sponsors that we're able to keep making these podcasts for you, like our title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services. Whether you're buying your first home or refinancing, Citywide Mortgage works for you, not the banks. My good buddy Dara is one of the owners. He helped me with my mortgage renewal back in January. That was when Trump was coming into office. The markets were taking a hit, clearly. Everything was uncertain, and yet he still got me a great rate. I told him what I could afford. He came under that number, thankfully. And I know you know that name. They're just that good. Citywide Mortgage Services. Dara has decades. His team has decades and decades of experience. They'll make the entire process simple, stress-free, totally transparent as well. Literally, it was a couple phone calls, couple text messages, and that was it. You'll save time, money. They'll tailor things to your financial goals as well. That's key. So talk to Dara, or anyone, I guess, at citywidemortgage.ca. Okay, so coming up in just a few minutes, in Listen to This, Mobile singer Matt Jolie recommends a few rock autobiographies that he thinks you should read. Those are about the only types of books that I can actually sit down and read. That's powered by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service, repairs, yes, they are ICBC accredited, and 9-year sponsor. 9 years. absolutely key to what we do. 9 years straight, no breaks. Big love to Tamra and her team. You can find them kicking around online from time to time as well. Facebook and Twitter, where else but at Tedco RV Supplies. Listen to this is coming up. First, let's get to some Canadian musical guests in this Canada Day 2025 podcast. And you'll know about Arkells since the mid-2000s, right? They've been around since 2006 from Hamilton, Ontario. They signed with Dynalone Records. They've been nominated for 18 Juno Awards, 18 Junos. They've won Rock Album of the Year twice for High Noon and Rally Cry. They're 6 times Group of the Year winners. Huge. Their singer, Max Kerman, was born in Toronto. He's been on the podcast a couple times. Listen to what he says at the time. It may have changed at this point, but listen to what he said at the time he was on about the biggest challenge about being in a band.
I should say that we've been pretty lucky, I think, in a lot of ways, that we met in university, and as soon as we finished university, like halfway through 4th year, we started working with Dynalone Records, so we didn't really have much of a lull in between, like, our schooling and our career. I know a lot of musicians sort of have to go through maybe sometimes a number of years before anybody starts giving a shit about what they're doing, so we've been lucky, I should say that. But I think probably one of the biggest challenges is just like, I think this is the case with a lot of bands, is just keeping momentum. Because it's, even though you have a team, like you have an agent, you have a manager, and you have a label, it's really up to the band to, to keep things rolling, to make sure that everyone's feeling happy and fulfilled, and that you're coming up with, like, cool ideas for songs and for the live show and ways to interact with your audience. So it's sort of like an ongoing challenge of keeping yourself, motivated and really excited. And again, I think we're pretty lucky in this band that, everybody takes it really seriously and, wakes up every morning thinking about, what they can bring to the table and to make the Arkells as great as possible.
Okay, fair enough. We didn't have much of a lull between our schooling and our career. Like, Arkells literally went from school to building their collective careers. 9 albums in now, a band that's influenced by rock, top 40, pop, Motown, and simply put, they're one of Canada's best. I asked Max to build a supergroup. You'll love his response.
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't know where you're going with that. Is it like international? I guess, can anybody...
Anybody.
Not just Canada? Okay. Oh, boy. This is... and am I in the band? Or
if you want to be.
Or maybe I'll just produce the band.
Yeah.
I'll be like that Lou Pearlman guy who created the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Who would I have in the group? Okay, that's a good question. I'd probably say this question is kind of blowing my mind right now. Okay, on drums. Okay, on guitar, lead guitar, I'd have Ian Thornley from Billy Talent, because I think that dude is incredible. I think he's like such an amazing guitar player and a really good singer too. A really good songwriter.
Well, he also does all the production for Billy Talent as well.
He does all the production. I'd have, I'd say, this is a popular choice. I have Brandon Flowers be the front guy because I'm kind of a sucker for him. I think from The Killers. I think he's a really captivating front guy, and he steals from like David Byrne from Talking Heads and Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. I like those bands a lot. On piano, I'd have Elton John. He'd be the piano player. Mm-hmm. On rhythm guitar, I'd probably do Ryan Adams, who's one of my favorite songwriters. And between all those guys singing, it'd be awesome. On bass guitar, I'd throw Paul McCartney back there, just holding it down.
Why not?
Why not? And on drums, I think you've got to give it to Dave Grohl because he'd be so excited to be around all those guys. And he'd kind of do whatever it took to make the songs great. And he's an amazing drummer. And if you need him to get showy, he'd do that. But if you need him just to hold it down, then if it was right for the song, he'd do that too. I'd say Dave Grohl on drums, Paul McCartney on bass, Ryan Adams rhythm guitar, Elton John on keys, Brandon Flowers lead singer.
It's tough, though, isn't it? It's tough to pick, because I guarantee you, if I were to ask this question of you, 2 weeks from now, they might not be the same choices.
No, totally. I know. They wouldn't be. If you asked me in 5 minutes from now, that wouldn't be the case either.
Yeah. No doubt, right? This question's kind of blowing my mind right now, but it is hard to answer, though. Like, build a supergroup. Who's in your supergroup? And I'll take you from one of Canada's most successful bands of all time to one of our best rock bands ever, Big Wreck. These guys go back to 1992, right? From the get-go, they clobbered on the rock scene. Big songs, massive riffs. And then in 2002, they just stopped. Their singer, Ian Thornley, who's also born in Toronto, started doing a solo thing simply called Thornley. A decade later, in 2012, you heard a new Big Wreck album, Albatross, and they've been going strong ever since, releasing Ghosts in 14, Grace Street in 17, But for the Sun in 19, and 7 in 23. The last time that Ian was a guest, he's been on a couple times over the years, he talked about picking up the guitar at 16.
I came late to guitar. I must have been 16 when I got one, and then it sat in my closet for a long time.
Wow.
And then I had a friend I befriended a guy over the summer who'd become, we'd become close, and he was a great guitar player. And he was like, "Oh, you got a guitar in your closet." So he sort of tuned it up, and then, I started realizing that most of the music I was listening to at the time was, if not written, certainly played on a guitar. And then it was like, wow, this is, it just spoke to me at that time. Mm-hmm. And then, I haven't put it down since.
Right, he goes, I came late to guitar. I must have been 16 when I got one. I guess that is late when you think about it. A lot of guitarists, when you've talked to them on the podcast, they go back to early years, like first guitar of like 8, 9, 10 years old. Big Wreck is known, of course, for Ian's massive, mighty riffs, but also the lyrical content as well, something that Ian talked about the last time he was on.
I sort of let the song tell me what it wants. I ran into that. I ran into that a couple of times on this record. When you don't want to, I don't want to go to. It's easier for me to write about dark things when I'm not in a dark place. If it's a relationship gone wrong or what have you. But I think I don't think you have to be in a horrible situation to write about it. I've been in many, and I can write firsthand what it's like. I don't have to be in it currently
Right.
To have it be viable. But also, I don't know. It depends on the material,
That's cool, hey? I sort of let the songs tell me what it wants. Also great to catch up with Ian from Big Wreck. And I'll take you from a staple of any good Canadian rock radio station. Hell, I mean, it should be worldwide, but certainly Canada supports Big Wreck. To a good buddy and Slash's drummer, Brent Fitz. Fitz was born in Winnipeg. He's played with so many great bands, right? Theory of a Dead Man, Alice Cooper, Vince Neil, The Guess Who, Econoline Crush. That's literally scratching the surface of his resume. He's currently touring with the Dead Daisies. You didn't know that. To his bread and butter, being a conspirator in Slash's band. Listen to Brent talk about how he met Slash and became part of the band.
It's interesting how, there's little seeds that get planted years before introductions happen, I guess. And it started with a phone call back when Slash was putting his band together. But I think, and this was 2010, so it's almost been 5 years. Is that right? Is that the math on that? But, I had probably connected dots with him through some other bands and people I had worked with, but never really formally, been introduced and been musically introduced, in any sort of band situation. But, I toured and did some recording with Gilby Clarke, so another Guns N' Roses, guitar player, and I played with Alice Cooper, who's a real good friend of Slash's. And so I think what happened was, when Slash was putting this new band together, he was probably, had some ideas of some guys he wanted to work with, but maybe didn't as well. And what ended up happening was, as he started to put the feeler out, I'm going to, be looking for a drummer and some guys, I got some calls from people saying, hey, Slash is putting a new band together. And I was like, well, fantastic. I don't have any way of connecting with him. But so what happened was a bunch of people apparently who I didn't, unbeknownst to me, didn't know, had called him on my behalf and was like, hey, if you're putting a band together, you should definitely check out, Fitz if you haven't heard or seen him play or something. So he calls me randomly one day with a strange phone call, hey, it's Slash, I've never met you, but everyone keeps calling me today, ironically. It just sort of happened, on the same day a bunch of people called. And it was I mean, how weird is that they all sort of just made an effort to call, and no one related to each other. No, like none of these people were connected in any way other than they knew Slash, and a bunch of people had called and said, "Hey, do you know Brent?" And I wasn't tooting my own horn. You know what I mean? People were speaking on my behalf. So that was very cool. And so yeah, a random phone call, and then all of a sudden we're talking about getting together and doing a little jamming and maybe feel each other out, see if it's going to work, because it's not just like call people and let's start a band. You got to sort of like get to know each other. And so yeah, luckily it worked out. I got together with him just a little bit after that. We met in Vegas, and then we met in LA and actually played together, and away we go.
Love that. Interesting how there's like this little seed that gets planted years before introductions happen. It's people telling Slash about Brent before he's even in the picture. And cool to hear Brent talk about the touring aspect of being in bands as well, and how that changes your world perception.
Because we travel all the time and get to go to different countries, the one thing that I've learned is, as a Canadian and how we think as people in the country there. And then when I've gone to other, and I live in the United States, and I've been here many, many years now, and sometimes there's different, as an American living in America, and then as a Canadian growing up in Canada, and then traveling the world, I just find that sometimes I've learned that people are quick to judge other places and countries, and I've been to some places that I never thought, let's say Beirut, Lebanon, it's like different other countries where I didn't know much about, but then you get over there and you're like, wow, these are one of the most beautiful places with the coolest people, or like things I might have stereotypically heard just by being, you hear from other people, and then I go to these countries and I'm like, man, there's a lot of great places on the planet that I'm just glad I got to see with my own eyes and have an opinion on.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca. Listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
You'll remember the band Mobile from being on good rock radio stations in the mid-2000s. They formed in 2006 from Montreal. Their debut, Tomorrow Starts Today, had 4 radio singles. They won a Juno Award for New Group of the Year in 2007. They were nominated for Album of the Year, but ultimately lost to Nelly Furtado's Loose album. They broke up in 2011, reunited roughly 10 years later. You've heard their music in NFL and FIFA video games. They had their song Bon Cop, Bad Cop in an episode of One Tree Hill as well. And great to have their singer Matt Jolie on the podcast, talking about all sorts of things. The music industry was a big part, getting the band back together, touring with Chris Cornell back in 2008 for some Canadian dates. He talked about Axl Rose singing for the AC/DC tour. He shared the shows that he was binge watching at the time, growing up to the music of Duran Duran, The Police, The Cure, how he was a Star Wars nut as a kid. He shared a near-death drowning story, talked generational differences, the Canucks, the Habs, Connor Bedard, and Matt recommended some rock autobiographies for you to read. Listen to this.
You know, I read Mark Lanigan. I'm a huge Mark Lanigan fan. He passed away last year, I think, and I'm a huge fan of his. And is it Devil in a Coma? Because I read 2 of his books. It's so good. It's insane what he went through, that guy. And he's so underrated, right? Lanigan was like Kurt Cobain's best friend and Lane Staley's best friend and confident. And then he went with Queens and then he did the Goddard Twins with Greg Dooley. He was my ultimate, idol, as far as music goes. And his book is so good, man. And he's such a good writer. He's like a Leonard Cohen of his time, with his tone and whatever. Yeah. And he's been through so much. I read his book, and I read Matt Sorum's book too.
It's really on good. My list. I haven't got it yet, but I heard it's amazing.
It's great. It's him too. I was reading those stories like, man, if you think you're rock and roll, no, man,
it's insane.
It's insane. He was a drug smuggler, and then his first gig when they played Rock in Rio in '91, right? It was his first gig with the band, so he rehearsed without Axl because Axl was never there during rehearsals. Yeah, and they went to Brazil, and they landed in Brazil. And he was really into the cocaine and shit. And he's like, I landed in Brazil, and then those guards are all there, fucking machine guns, and then police and this and that. And he's like, do you need anything? He's like, yeah, like an ounce of cocaine or some crazy shit. He's like, yeah, sure. So he went to his hotel room. They brought him the cocaine, and he was on coke for 3 days straight with no sleep. And he went to play the show, right? And I'm like, I read his book. I'm anxious I'm like, how can you fucking... And then he shows up in Rock in Rio. There's like 100,000 people, and he never played a gig with the band with Axl. And he's like, dude, I haven't slept for 3 days and then somebody calls my hotel room. You gotta go. He's like, oh my god, 3 days passed and I haven't slept, and I've been on coke bench for 3. I'm like, are you crazy? And then he plays. And then I went and watched the gig again, and I'm like, you can tell the guy. He's like, he's a powerhouse. I'm like, dude, those guys are like. It's insane. It's so fun to read, man. I was reading this. Oh my god, this is great.
Totally, man. They're like legendary, right? And they, if you haven't read the Foo Fighter, Dave
I did.
Book,
well, no, I didn't read the Storyteller, Dave Grohl, but I read another book on the Foo Fighters, which was written by
what's his name? Got a red thing on it as well.
What's his name? The writer. He's a famous writer, especially the hard rock stuff. What's his name? Actual mention him
like literally on my
check this out. It's good. What's his name?
Beside my bed on the bedside table.
What's his name? Actual, I think mentioned him in Get in the Ring, right? When he blasts all those writers on that song. Yeah. Anyway, Mick Wall.
That's right. Yeah.
Mick Wall. He wrote. I wrote the book. He wrote on Foo Fighters. It's pretty good. It's great band, man. Too
very good. But of course, Dave's is better, right? And the fact that Dave like read the whole book as well, like if you wanted an audiobook style, like
totally. Yeah, I'm gonna get into that too. It's just like I was on vacation, Florida and then California. Well, in Florida, I read the Matt Sorum in like 2 days. My wife was like, "Do you have dinner?" I'm like, "I'm busy, reading."
That's about the only thing that I can really sit down and read for hours is like rock autobiography. Like if you never read the Keith Richards' Life.
I did, of course. Yeah, I got it.
That's probably my favorite.
Oh, so good. One of my favorite too is Duff McKagan. His book It's So Easy in Other Lives, it's called.
Oh, okay.
Dude, his story is insane.
Yeah.
Duff was his story too when he was a kid. He used to steal cars. He was like 12 years old. And, he was part of all those like punk bands, in Seattle. Then he moved to LA and started with Guns. And then, he was like a crazy drinker, like insane. He used to drink a gallon of vodka a day. Think on it. You remember him back in the day. He was wearing gloves because his hands were cracking. He was losing his hair. He said he didn't have a glass of water for 5 years. He was only drinking vodka, a gallon. And then his pancreas exploded. That's how, and then he went to his story is insane. Then, his rehab and how he got clean. It's impressive. If you think you can get clean, you read that book and you're like, dude, if Duff can do it, you can. I'm telling you.
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit CanadianClub.com today.
I've been wasting so much time. I've been going out of my mind. All my life I've been searching for a heart like yours, warm and open. All my life I've been searching for you, for you, for you, for you. I'm breathless. Lead me down the dark. You know we got the spark. Temptation fills the air. I'll be your love affair. We could walk this back if you want to. Pretend we never met. Our kiss haunting you. Leaving is your biggest regret. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Let the wildness take you home. There's no need to have control. The places that we hide were never a disguise. Breathe, 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 breathe. Say it, I've been on your mind. Faded to feel your appetite. All your life you've been searching breathe, 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 breathe,
So good to hear a familiar voice back on the scene. The band is Dabble Doom, and that's a new song for them called X and Alatio. But that features one of our favorite singers, Emily Seal, who you'll know from Little Crow, Winter Youth here in Vancouver, right? Both of those bands, we played the hell out of them over the years. So it's good to see Em back at it, banging out some new stuff. Hopefully that means we'll hear something, from her, either solo, or maybe she's got a project that she's putting together as I speak. I don't know why that tripped me out, but it just did. Played you a new band called In Signals. Great song from these guys called California is Burning. I love it. I get the Insta DM. Hey bro, how can we get our new album in your hands? By the way, if you ever need that, I guess it's hard to do that in a DM, but toddhancock.ca has a contact form that goes right to me. Okay. So anyway, chirping the guys, maybe saying that, maybe a live show, put together something for the Blue Light Studio. So that might be something you can kind of look forward to later on in the year as well from a band called In Signals. Again, their song's called California is Burning. All right. So coming up shortly in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, BC Lions offensive lineman Andrew Pearson is a big boy. He's a big boy, 6'3", 300 pounds. And he talks about what he eats and his daily nutrition. It's amazing. That's powered by, and by the way, he loves being at that weight. He goes in a little bit on that as well. That's powered by our good friends at the Home Dwell Group. I've known one of their partners, Kyle, since elementary school. Now, he's been in that world since graduating high school, designing homes, big buildings downtown Vancouver. Now, as a realtor, he's able to tell you about the home renovations, if it's even worth buying. So if you're buying or selling your home, contact Kyle. He'll dial it up for you, okay? Through homedwell.ca. Use my network. Stop Me is coming up. First, more guest highlights in our Canada Day 2025 special / podcast and some Canadian sporting guests. Retired BC Lion Angus Reid was born in Richmond, former offensive lineman with the club. He went to SFU, played with the Simon Fraser clan, started his CFL career playing with the Montreal Alouettes, then got traded to the BC Lions. In 2004, Angus made the West Division All-Star team, named Lineman of the Week, same year. 2005 starts all 18 games. And if you know anything about pro sport, anything, to start every game, it's impressive. Angus has Crohn's disease. He missed 3 years of college ball in SFU because of that. But he played every game in the CFL between 2002 and 2008. What? Including the 92 and 94 Grey Cups. He retired in 2014 and talked about whether that was a tough decision.
No. Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. I was 20 some odd years of continuous football, but I knew it was time to leave, and I was able to be probably one of those few athletes that was my decision. Right. Usually it's imposed on you. You get cut, you get released, whatever. I was able to come to Wally and say, you know what, I have thought about it. It's time for me to move on. There's nothing more I can do, and physically, it's over. I've given everything I've got. There's nothing left in me. So I was actually looking forward to being able to move on to the next phase of my life.
Right. Now, it's funny, the same thing, Brent Johnson, he's a buddy of mine. He said the same thing. Nice to be able to kind of leave on your own terms.
Yeah, and it leaves you only with good memories, because I know a lot of people where their careers end, prematurely of where they would want to. There's always that, I'd give anything to be out there one more game. I never got done this or that. I ticked more boxes than I knew I possibly could in my career. So I didn't leave things undone or dreams unfulfilled. It was, I got everything accomplished. Made more friends than I could ever imagine, have memories that last me a lifetime, and a body that's relatively intact. So, I mean, that's all things being considered, that's pretty good.
Yes, he's right. Usually it's imposed on you. You get cut, you get released, whatever. True enough, though, right? Good for Angus, wrapping things up on his terms. This was super cool, super open and honest conversation with Angus. He shared with us when he realized that he had a gambling problem.
When I lost every penny I ever owned, and my whole life hit rock bottom, and when you realized it's 4 a.m. Why am I here? And, what started usually, as I think most people could relate to, kind of innocent fun with friends. We'd go after practice.
Sure, just hanging out and
kill a half
play with the
hour,
boys. And
everyone goes home. And then I started turning around and going back in. And, I have a bit of a compulsive personality, and probably why I was successful in sports. I wasn't overly athletic. I was just compulsive. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it more than anybody. So I have that personality in me. And you get into the gambling world, it lends itself to that type of behavior easily. It pulls you in. So, I realized once you start lying, once you start telling people that, I went for a half hour last night when you're there for 7 hours. And no, I lost $100 when it's thousands. You start realizing that how stupid that was, but you still go.
My whole life hit rock bottom. That's what they say, right? You need to hit the bottom before you can start rising up again. So we'll take you from a retired CFL offensive lineman to one of Canada's top sports anchors, Caroline Cameron. You can thank James Cebulski, by the way, for getting her on the cast. Of course, they once worked together. James and I are good buddies, going back to my time doing the afternoon show at CFox, 99.3 The Fox here in Vancouver. And James would call the show from time to time, spout off about the Canucks or the Lions or whatever, and I'd try to, on the DL, hook him up, slide him a little, swag, concert tickets or whatever for his troubles. A super, super good guy, a good friend, and he conned Caroline into coming on. Born in Toronto, you'll know Caroline, of course, from Sportsnet, pregame for Hockey Central. She hosts Scotiabank Wednesday Night Hockey, is a rink-side reporter for NHL on Sportsnet, covers the NHL entry draft, and loves more sports than just hockey. In fact, did you know one of her favorite sports is tennis?
And I started a tennis blog when I was there, and I was just doing a little bit of reporting.
Yeah, I hit you with the Twitter, like, hey, what's your favorite sport? I can't remember what you had mentioned. I was like, I wonder what her favorite sport is, and it tripped me out that you said tennis.
I know, people are usually surprised.
Don't know a ton of sportscasters that would say tennis is their favorite sport.
I know. I grew up a huge basketball fan. I grew up in Toronto, and I was a diehard Raptors fan growing up because it really came about with my generation.
Yeah, like the Carter jersey and everything.
Yeah, I remember shoveling my parents' driveway as like a 12-year-old girl listening to Raptors broadcasts on my dad's Walkman.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the only way that I would. It's the only way I would do chores.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a big Raptors fan, but I became a huge tennis fan because I was a ball kid at the Rogers Cup.
I read about that, and apparently it's like an arduous process to become a ball kid. It's just crazy.
It's a job. It's hard.
And at 19, you're done. Like you got to
19, you are forced into retirement.
Pack it in.
Past
you're done.
Your prime.
Sorry, kid.
Can't do
you're
it
no longer
anymore.
a kid anymore.
It's tough though. I started when I was the youngest you can start when you're 12.
What do they like? Just toss balls up and just like keep slamming balls at you? Can you get out of the way fast enough? Kind of thing.
Exactly. It's fun when you're holding the tryouts because you can just whip balls at people.
It's so great, right? It's fun when you're holding the tryouts because you get to whip balls at people. That's great. Caroline's cool. She actually came over to the podcast studio to do the interview. She's great at what she does, of course. A comfy shoe at this point. And I say that in the best way. You know what to expect. You know it's going to be good. So where does she see herself, big picture, 5-10 years from now? Keep in mind that she answered this about 10 years ago. So let's see how she did.
And I've just started to kind of think because more people have been asking, like, where do you see yourself and what do you want to do? And I think, I guess I should maybe think about this. But the way that the landscape's going, and this industry, as you know, like things change all the time. And with technology, things are changing. So who knows what the landscape's even going to look like in 5 years. I'd love to get involved in live sports more. So be part of live broadcasts. That would be awesome.
Yep.
And I'd love even to do sit-down interviews or longer form interviews. We don't really get to do that on our show. The longest we can really do for an interview is 3 minutes, and it's over double ender, as we call it, where the person's somewhere else in the country talking into a camera and you're talking into a camera on the other end. So it's not it's not like this where we're sitting next to each other and you can
The same kind of thing was I did radio for 19 years and the problem was that you could get the good guests and stuff, but they only wanted you to talk for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
How are you supposed to have a conversation?
Yeah. So for me, like this podcast is so good because it can kind of it's train of thought conversation. It's not necessarily like I'm going to get this in and I need to be real quick. And hey, by the way, can you make your answers, you can kind of meander if you want. You just talk about whatever.
Because when someone's being interviewed too, they know they're being interviewed and they're going to answer questions in a different way. Where in a podcast form like this, you're just having a conversation and you won't necessarily get answers. You'll just get to know them better, right? Which is the best answers of all.
Interesting to get the take and see. Hindsight is always, as they say, 2020. This industry, as you know, things change all the time. Yeah, super aware of how fast the industry changes. If you'd said to me 12 years ago, say, when I was doing CFox Afternoons, still working at the Fox, and of course, that I would have a moderately successful podcast, be an instructor at BCIT Radio, the A&E program, I'd say you're on glue. It's not happening. So from a Sportsnet host to Mrs. Galaxy 25 and Vancouver Rise PA announcer Caroline Frolic. What a trip it must be for Caroline, right? Born in Vancouver, did PA announcing for the Abbotsford Canucks. She's done it for the Vancouver Canucks as well. And now she's the PA for women's pro soccer with the Vancouver Rise. We'll get to the sports angle in a minute. First, listen to Caroline talk about winning Mrs. Galaxy and everything that goes into that.
Well, me, it took a couple years. That was my third try doing Mrs. Galaxy Canada. Okay. And I've been involved in pageants since I was 9 years old. And this isn't the weird, like freaky toddlers and tiaras stuff that you see on there. My friend, when I was 9 years old, entered the Miss Hawaii preteen pageant and came back, was talking about it, how much fun she had. And of course, as a little girl, I watched pageants on TV and I was like, I want to be Miss Universe. I want to be Miss Canada. That never happened. But I learned what pageants can do for a person. And I discovered the Galaxy system years and years ago. It just never really got around to entering it. And Canada got a franchise. And I like the director. I like what she stands for. She's fair. And so I tried the last 3 times. And both the times I didn't win, I was second runner-up, then first runner-up, but my friends won. So
good. Okay.
Fine,
Yeah, right. I mean, somebody's going to win. At least they're your friend, right?
Right. And I legitimately adore them so much. And then I won this year. So the 3 of us are just saying, it all happened the way it should have.
Right. And what's the difference of this year compared to the last couple of years? Like, what was the deal maker, do you think?
I had to get myself right. I had to, the first year I just kind of entered just for fun. Give myself 2 weeks prep and just go in there, whatever. And then when I got there, I said, I really want this. I really like this. I like this system. I want to do this. And then the next year, I wasn't me. I was shoulding myself a lot. I should like this job. I should want to do this. I should do this. And I lost myself. So I really shouldn't have competed, but I went because I wanted to see my friends and I wanted to see Jenna Marie give up her title. And I was first runner up and I thought, well, holy smokes, I'm just a shell of myself. And I still managed to almost win. People see something in me. Maybe I should see something in myself. And it sounds really strange at this age to be, needing to find yourself. But I think we're always evolving. So what I did is I just got myself right, got rid of all the toxic things that were around me, everything that I thought I should want, but didn't, and got my health back. I lost weight and it's not a pageant where you have to be the skinniest and the prettiest, but I needed to get healthy and I needed to get myself back and find the things that made me happy. And when you prepare for a pageant or when you prepare for life, you're kind of preparing for a pageant because you have to be your best self in so many areas. And I think that's what did it. I'm not sure. And I just felt good going in. And I just had the mindset of it happened the way it should have the last 2 years. And if it's meant for me this year, then it is. And if it isn't, then I'll be happy for someone else.
Yeah.
And it just happened to work out. Look at all this wisdom comes with my age.
Wow, right? I've been involved in pageants since I was 9 years old. So amazing for Caroline to be Mrs. Galaxy Canada 25, the first Canadian, by the way, to win within that division. What an incredible feat. As mentioned, she's done PA announcing for the Vancouver Canucks, the Abbotsford Canucks. You've seen her fill in for Weather on CTV. She's the PA for women's pro soccer in Vancouver, as mentioned, the Vancouver Rise. Caroline was also part of the all-women sports show on Sportsnet, an impressive career to say the least. To the point, can she even pick a career highlight?
I'd say maybe Canucks PA. You know, that Calgary, Vancouver game that I did, the very first one, being the first woman in Canada to PA a full NHL game, being the first for the Canucks, well, Canucks in Canada, but yeah, the second in NHL, and what that meant and what that means. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he brought his daughter to the game, and he knew I was doing the game. He brought his daughter to the game, and he didn't say anything. She's like 8, 10 years old. And then she was like, "Daddy, is that a girl?" He goes, "Mm-hmm." She goes, "Is that why you love the Canucks?" And okay, sure. Yeah. She, sure. This is what we're going with. But things like that. No, oh gosh, then there's OT with Caroline, Lindsay, and Lena. We had a show on Sportsnet 650, the first all-female sports talk panel, and we had dads calling in and texting us all the time saying, I'm listening with my daughters. This is really cool. Thank you. And then the three of us would just look at each other and go, well, crap, this is bigger than us now, isn't it? Jeez, no pressure. Because when I was 8 years old, I didn't hear a woman on a PA system. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a dream come true. I didn't dream it. I didn't know I could do it. So I would probably think, a tie for those. But I mean, doing that first PA Canucks game, man, and all the anxiety and all the sickness that came with it and all the nerves, man, it means a lot.
Red Truck Beer. You never forget your first truck. Official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
You say this and I say that. You get pissed and I get mad. We get sad, I get stiff and you get glad. I break down, forgive you fast. You forgive me too. Who am I to take from you? I give nothing, you give everything to me. I'm just lost inside my head. You just want us to be happy. I can't lie, I'm so unhappy. I can't lie, I'm so unhappy. Will I always be this way? Will I always be this great? Wonder if I'll ever change. Wonder if I stay the same. I just wanna be the man I thought that I could be for you. Yes, I'm gonna try.
And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
BC Lions offensive lineman Andrew Pearson has been with the team for 6 seasons. Each season, you've seen him play more and more games and become a starter with a major role in the Lions' O-line. Andrew grew up in Kingston, Ontario, and yes, the Tragically Hip did come up when he was a guest. He played football for 4 years at Gannon University, made 9 starts as a junior in 2016, multiple Division II academic awards, and a Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference Scholarship Athlete Award. Say that one 5 times fast. Andrew beat the odds, making the team in 2018 as an undrafted free agent. As you would expect, we talked a lot about Piggy, a lot about football, and we got into other things in Andrew's life as well, like his first concert. We talked about him seeing My Chemical Romance. He shared a near-death story. We talked about the shows that he was binge-watching at the time. Deadpool and Wolverine came up. So did Locker Room Pranks. And stop me if you've heard this before, Andrew's a big guy. He's 6'3", 300 pounds, and he says he feels best at that weight.
I would say 6'3" is a little generous. I don't know where that came from, but it's just stuck with me. Yeah. I'm about 6'2" in a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe 6'2" and a half on a good day, but with my hopes on. But yeah. But 300, yeah, I'm sitting around 305, 310.
Okay.
You know, I kind of fluctuate around there.
Like, dude, yeah. I'm 6'1", 230, and like I'm usually bigger than most guys, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around another inch and a half and like 70 pounds, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I always win at the carnival games when people try to guess my weight, because everyone looks at me and goes like, oh, 270, 275. I'm like, sure. Oh no, I'm, you know, and as the season progressed, your weight kind of fluctuates too. So that's kind of like something that I've kind of figured out how to manage older in my career and having to do a lot of maintenance on it. But yeah, like I feel the most healthy I feel is in that range of 305 to 312, 315 at the most. Just because your body starts to feel it too when you're holding that weight and moving around.
Yeah. So like, what's your nutritional calendar? I'm not even really sure how to say this, but like, what are you eating every day? Like, what's your biggest meal? Do you fast?
Yeah, no, I figured out when I'm in my weight loss program, like I kind of have the bigger meals earlier in the day because my training and even football, like everything's structured to the mornings. So I like to have a lot of carbs and calories in the morning. So like I'm a big fan of like Greek yogurt, a scoop of protein, granola, and some fresh berries, and maybe some chia seeds or something like that for some extra fiber in the morning. And then lunch is when we're in season. Most of the days they're provided here, so you just pick what meal you want. So, but they're nutritious meals. Like they're like little like the meal prep bowls that they just make those massive. So, you know, today I had like pesto chicken, pasta, but you know, there's barbecue chicken, all this kind of stuff. And then at night it's a little lighter, probably a heavy protein, less carbs, because at that point I really need the carbs at that point. Yeah, it's just finding something you like. But like for me, like my workouts and my football days, like you're talking about a lot of calorie burn. So I'm not as conscious about it, but it's more like we just finished up a bye week where we're not playing. So it's like understanding when I'm putting my body that week when I'm not burning, call it 2,000 calories at a workout or practice. So
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by the Homed Well Group. Buying a house? Selling your home? Contact Kyle at homedwell.ca today.
You're fogging up your glasses while you try to catch your breath. Take off
You know, if they released that song in 2025, you could put that as serious contender for Indie Song of the Year, any genre. The band is Cloudsick. Love that one. Crutch. And you'll no doubt see that one. So it's the last Sunday of the month, Sunday, July 27 at Redgate. This is a great show. All Hype, Chief State, Cloudsick, and Landmark 20. Just $20. Am I reading that right? $20, 4 bands. That's 19 plus, by the way. You heard a new song for Matt Storm as well. This is a great one. You Say This, I Say That. Certainly a front runner for the best of his genre in our city here in Vancouver, and a super impressive live performer as well. Like, he played a set with Ivan Hartle for the podcast, I guess a couple years back now, but both of them are just so damned good. Okay, let's get to our final guests of this Canada Day 2025 podcast. This week's entertainment lifestyle guests will start you off with a banger. Commander Chris Hadfield, Canada's first spacewalker, retired astronaut, engineer, 25-year fighter pilot, musician, writer, badass. He's flown 2 space shuttle missions, served as commander of the International Space Station.
During a shuttle flight, a typical shuttle flight was a couple weeks. We run 3 shifts, 3 8-hour shifts to make a 24-hour day, and then there'd be a 1 or 2 hour overlap. So you'd be on shift for about 9 or 10 hours, and we'd work around the clock. So you could have any of those 3 shifts. And also, the space shuttle wasn't on Houston time, naturally, you know, so the prime shift might be from 2 in the morning till 10 in the morning. And so we would just live and die by whatever schedule that flight was on. And of course, the flight is the final 10-day result of years of preparation. And we probably had 10 to 1. For every hour in space, we'd simulated as a crew for 10 hours. So it's not just during the shuttle flights, but it's during the years and years of preparation that you really do the job, whether you're working as a Capcom and mission controller or wherever, or as the crew themselves. And but as a Capcom, you'd have trained with that crew for years. You've learned everything about everything to do with that flight. And then you come into work and you spend an hour or 2 with the previous shift getting up to speed, handover notes ready at some moment where you transfer over from one shift to the other, like handing off a baton in a perpetual relay race. And then you are constantly watching the spaceship, looking for the schedule, what's coming up next, what the crew's doing. And the crew could be, could be 13 people, you know, depending on the combination of the shuttle crew and the space station crew. So there's all sorts of simultaneous activity. And you, as the Capcom, are the trusted agent of all those people on orbit to Earth. They know that anything you tell them is a battle you've already fought, and you're trying to couch it to them in the easiest words they can understand so they can get the most out of it. And whenever they say something, you're their interpreter to the world to make sure that people truly understand the nuance of what's going on. It was a fascinating job to work in mission control. And you're in a room of flight controllers where you're the dumbest guy in the room. You're just trying to keep up with these brilliant people all around you who are so expert in their particular subspecialty that it was a really challenging place to work. I enjoyed those 25 shuttle flights and have a personal memory of every one.
Maybe flat earthers need to talk to this guy about, you know, his experience of seeing Earth and being in space. Crazy, right? We would all live and die by whatever schedule that flight was on. As you would expect, Commander Hadfield wanted to be an astronaut his whole life after watching the moon landing, Apollo 11 on TV. He was an air cadet as a kid, enrolled in the Canadian Armed Forces, got his master's degree in aviation systems. In 1992, Chris was accepted into the Canadian astronaut program by the Canadian Space Agency, CSA. In 95, he visited the Russian space station Mir, right? He's up there. 2001, he visited the ISS, walked in space to help install Canadarm2. Hadfield retired in 2013, has 5 published books, including his autobiography, the New York Times bestseller, An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. And yes, you can see evidence of climate change from outer space.
Yeah, it depends on what scale you mean. Climate change can be local, right? If 7 million people live in the same city, they change the local climate. absolutely. It's smog all over the city. It's hotter than normal because of all the pavement. So you can see localized climate change. And then the Aral Sea, which used to be the fourth biggest sea on Earth, in the last generation, just in the last 25 years, we've dried that up. We've dried up the fourth biggest sea on Earth deliberately because of irrigation policies and to try and water the cotton. And so the fourth biggest sea on Earth is gone. And you can see it like a huge blister, a huge scar on Earth. And of course, it's wildly affected a whole region of Kazakhstan and the surrounding countries there. And the glaciers that used to rely on the lake effect to get snow, they're receding. So that's man-made climate change on a bigger scale. But globally, it's a little harder because it's slow, and you have to compare pictures from a few years back. And so globally, it's harder to see, just like it is on the surface, just because it's a creeping thing. Mm-hmm. But when you compare the astronauts' pictures of glaciers or of where the edges of deserts are, or the Lake Chad even, it's obvious what's happening, and it's easy to stick your head in the sand. But for those of us who can actually see the world, you can't get 7 billion people breathing in and out and eating and turning the lights on and flushing their toilets. You don't get that for free. That definitely has an effect, and we need to think about it.
He goes, if 7 million people live in a city, they change the local climate. Absolutely. From the first Canadian astronaut to walk in space to former radio host, certified life coach, nutritionist, podcaster, Denai Johnson. She was born in Kelowna, raised in the Okanagan, and we know each other through radio. She was working at the Beat 94.5 here in Vancouver when I was doing CFOX's afternoon show. But as mentioned, she's way more than a former radio host, specifically an holistic nutritionist.
My cheat foods, oh my gosh, well, I grew up a fat kid. Like in grade 6, I was 200 pounds.
No.
So, yeah, man. Yeah. So I will.
That's crazy.
Always,
that's like just under what I am as an adult.
Yeah.
Wow.
Grade 6.
Okay, so what's the ish there in grade 6? Like, what is it? Just poor eating, not exercising? Like, because you're not heavy today.
It was definitely a combination of those things. There was no physical activity going on whatsoever, and my friend, I would crush wagon wheels like nobody's business.
Uh-huh. That'll do it.
Yeah, it will. It definitely will. So I'll always be a fat kid at heart. You know, I really believe now in the power of food and the impact that it has on your health, your mind, and your body. So on the daily, I do eat very healthy now because I've experienced what it is to be fat, sick, unhealthy. So
right.
I don't want to be that anymore.
Okay, so you have that knowledge, but what are the cheat foods? Like if you're like, you know what, I'm doing it, I don't care.
Oh yeah, man. And I still have those. Like I'll always be a fat kid at heart. I will always love those foods. So definitely I'm going to give you 2. Pizza. I could probably eat pizza every single day of my life.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing though.
Right? Like it's just
so good.
So damn good. I mean, banana peppers, and I need some garlic, ranch dip for the crust, and I'm just like the happiest person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And a good old mac and cheese.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up a fat kid. In grade 6, I was 200 pounds. That's a real mind blower if you know Denai today. Certified life coach, nutritionist. You would never guess that. No. It was fun to get into all sorts of things with Denai, of course, like her first concert and how she's a singer as well.
First concert was No Doubt.
Wow.
Yeah, I was late. Yeah, it was really good. I didn't go to a concert until I was like a teenager. Like it took me forever to get to one, like late in my teens.
Really?
But one of my favorite albums of all time, still to this day, is No Doubt, Tragic Kingdom.
Tragic Kingdom. That record, start to finish, is amazing.
Right, man. Yeah, and I don't know if you know Todd, but I was in a band for a while as well.
No. Were you really?
Yeah, I was.
No, you're putting me on. No, you weren't.
I swear to God.
Really? What style? Yeah. What was it called?
It was, dude, you'd hate the music. It was so poppy. It was so poppy. I'm going to send you a photo. right before I left Vancouver, we were just kind of starting to like grow a little bit. Like we actually opened for Akon.
Come on.
Yeah.
And there's another surprise. I never would have thought that. I didn't go to a concert until I was a teenager. It took me forever to get to one. Wouldn't have expected that from Denai Johnson, life coach, nutritionist, to TV entertainment personality Erin Cebula. Erin was born in Chilliwack. Of course, you'll know her from being a former TV reporter for ET Canada. She did pre- and post-game coverage of CBS's Survivor reality TV show, or at least here in Vancouver she did. That led to her hosting Urban Rush in Vancouver. She hosted Makeover Wish on HGTV. Heck, you saw Erin on Michael Bublé's Haven't Met You Yet music video. So listen to Erin talk about her first gig in front of a camera and the happenstance of how that came to be.
The first one was this is actually a pretty cool story. So the first one I did, this is another one of my side gigs. I was writing scripts for production company, and they did like videos for schools, videos for construction companies, corporate stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'd written one of their scripts for an international language school, and I was called Aspect. So they liked the script, it worked for them, so they went and they hired a host. And they had hired 2 hosts basically for it. And the day of the shoot, I came out as script supervisor so I could work with the talent to help them with the delivery. And I always think about this woman. I wonder, because I've told this story before, I just wonder if she remembers this too, or if she's blocked it out of her memory.
No.
Love
the tease.
Anyway.
You have me hooked. You have the tease. Let's hear the story.
So this beauty girl shows up, and she's lovely, and she's so put together, and I'm seriously like Birkenstock script supervisor. I haven't showered, right? I'm the nerd. I'm the writer. I'm in the corner. She rolls in. She's beautiful. She's poised. She's saying hello to everyone. She goes in front of the camera, and literally as soon as it starts to roll, she just can't get it. And it wasn't on prompter. It had to be memorized. It had to be delivered quickly and punchy and kind of chill, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And she couldn't do it. And they tried for a couple hours or so with her.
As soon as you start at that point, you're like, you start to doubt yourself too when you can't get it over and over.
And then you get hung up on the smallest things, and you
can't say a word. I can't believe I can't say in between. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
You're like,
how's my brain not working?
Exactly, right? Something totally misfires.
That happens. It happens even beyond the television prompters and people looking and staring at you, just in between with a producer in radio.
Oh yeah.
Like one person screws with you.
It's I guess it's a stage fright type
Must
thing,
be.
right?
So she just couldn't
do it.
Get it.
She just couldn't do it. And the producer turns to me.
Hey, Birkenstock. You want to give this a try or what?
Basically. Well, he said, okay, we've booked, we've lit this studio. It's a big green screen shoot. It's not cheap to do, right? It's like, we've booked it for the day. It's here. You know the script.
Let's get it on.
Delivering her the lines.
Yeah.
Do you want to give it a go? And I said, well, can I shower? So I left. I'm not joking. I left. I drove home.
Awesome.
I showered. I grabbed random clothes from my closet.
Yeah.
And I came back and I nailed it.
Love that. I wonder if she remembers this too, or she's blocked that out of her memory. Too funny. Erin and I go back to BCIT some time ago. She was in the journalism program. I took the radio arts. We even actually worked on a couple projects together. She's great at what she does, just a natural, and has been from the start. Erin grew up in Aldergrove, mentioned she was born in Chilliwack, was a snowboard instructor before getting into TV. She's a bubbly personality, fun and witty, and talked about what happens when it's a bad interview on camera.
I haven't had a ton because I look at those moments as an absolute challenge, and I will pour on. I will kill those people with kindness.
Yeah.
Like I will just come at them with like every bit of nice, fun, awesome. Like I won't let them be jerks, right?
Right. Whereas I would let them be jerks.
You let them be jerks.
And then eventually say, you know what, that's cool. If you want to waste my time, get the fuck out now.
Yep. And I totally get that.
Totally cool with me.
And trust me, there are times when I wanted to
when you've wanted to say that.
But because it's on camera, their big resources have been spent to get that camera. Like, you know what I mean? To fly me, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I look at it like, hey, this is a good challenge. Because if I can crack this asshole, then I can do any interview.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I approach it. The only person I haven't really been able to at least get a little something out of was Jared Leto. And this is years ago.
Really?
I've interviewed him since. I still think he's a douchebag. Honestly.
Yeah.
Fake. Sorry. To the
No,
world
don't
who
be
loves him.
sorry.
He's got great ombre. But I just don't think... I think he's the kind of person who's just nice to who he needs to be nice to. And he was particularly rude to me this years ago. But just, he was rude to me. He was rude to my cameraman. And I should have walked out. That's one time I wish I had walked out. I wish I had sort of said, you know what? That's enough. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But I learned from it, you know?
The Toddcast Podcast. Find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and at toddhancock.ca.
Time when the snow comes down, time will freeze while my demons come out. Suffocating winter's breath, dissipate all I have left. Below the surface, in spite of purpose, I'm trying to forget. I'm trying to forget. I am deciduous, dying with the change of seasons. I can feel the rush of cold air against my skin, and wish I could be an evergreen. Wish I could see the changing of the leaves. Wish I could be an evergreen. Wish I could see the changing of the leaves. Despair. I am deciduous. Sick of feeling like I've got nothing left. Always stuck in my head. Fated to live with regret.
Oh yes, that is so good. The band is Chief State, and a song off their acoustic EP. It's called Deciduous. The Canucks' DJ actually played some of that song last season. The band messaged me on Instagram like, dude, you see the video that we posted on stories? I'm pretty pumped about that, and of course, rightfully so. You can expect new music from them coming up pretty quick. And as mentioned earlier in the podcast, Chief State are playing a show this month on the 27th at Redgate. Good show too. All hype, Chief State, Cloudsick, Landmark 20, only $20. Again, that's a 19 plus show. And that's going to wrap up this week, our Canada Day 2025 podcast, episode 369. 69. 9 guests, you and me. And of course, huge thanks to all of our guests for jumping on this little podcast that could. Some going back, Erin Cebula, 11 years ago. 11 years. It's crazy how time flies like nuts. My name is Todd Hancock. Thanks again for listening. If you're here, you're hearing to the very end. If you like what you heard, please do tell your friends about us. It's a big way of how we grow. We see all the chirping on social media daily. We do, of course, our best to keep up. But sometimes, honestly, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, it's super time consuming, and it's like, it sometimes feels overwhelming a little bit. We are part of the Realm.fm network. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast. See all of our video content at our YouTube channel. Comment and rate the podcast as well, because that does help out. What else? Search it out through Toddcast Podcast. Huge thanks to all of our excellent sponsors. Find links to all of their websites at toddhancock.ca. If your business gets it outside of the, we're always on our phone looking, right? Outside of the box advertising, you want in on my world, be part of my world for as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage. If you help us find a sponsor, yes, we will give you a commission. Make side scratch, a little hustle. So if you got a company in mind, shoot them our way and we'll take it from there. Okay, cool. Until next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast Podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
You might think you know fairy tales, and you might think that they are cute and sweet and boring. But the real Grimm fairy tales were not cute at all. They were very dark, and they were often very grim. On Grim, Grimmer, Grimmest, we tell a Grimm fairy tale to a bunch of kids. Perfect for car rides or screen-free entertainment, Grim, Grimmer, Grimmest activates kids' imaginations and instigates fun conversations. Because fairy tales speak to all of us at a very deep, primal level, and they raise interesting topics and questions that are worth chewing over together as a family. Every episode is rated Grim, Grimmer, or Grimmest, so you, your kids, your whole family can choose what is the right level of grim for you. Though, if you're listening with Grandma, she's just gonna go for Grimmest. Trust me on this one. Tune in to Grim, Grimmer, Grimmest, and our new season, available now.
Can you actually change your personality if you want to? How does peer pressure work, and why is it so powerful? Should you ever really trust your gut when you make a big decision? These are just a few of the topics we've recently covered on my podcast, Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and each episode of Something You Should Know covers multiple topics that are likely relevant to you. You'll discover things you can use in your life today, right now, like how to have a great conversation, how to be more courageous, the anatomy of the perfect apology, and much, much more. To date, there are over 1,000 episodes of Something You Should Know, and we've gotten over 4,000 mostly 5-star reviews. I invite you to check out Something You Should Know. Look for the bright yellow light bulb on the blue background. Something You Should Know, wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Old West is an iconic period of American history and full of legendary figures whose names still resonate today. Like Jesse James, Billy the Kid, and Butch and Sundance, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and Geronimo, Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, and Bass Reeves, Buffalo Bill Cody, Wild Bill Hickok, the Texas Rangers, and many more. Hear all their stories on the Legends of the Old West podcast. We'll take you to Tombstone, Deadwood, and Dodge City, to the plains, mountains, and deserts for battles between the U.S. Army and Native American warriors, to dark corners for the disaster of the Donner Party, and shining summits for achievements like the Transcontinental Railroad. We'll go back to the earliest days of explorers and mountain men, and head up through notorious Pinkerton agents and gunmen like Tom Horn. Every episode features narrative writing and cinematic music, and there are hundreds of episodes available to binge. I'm Chris Wimmer. Find Legends of the Old West wherever you're listening now.